Hello and welcome to Wheel Thing TV. I'm Dave Knoll. This week's edition we're checking out the Toyota Yaris ZR. Well, we're checking out the Yaris. As you can see, it's quite a edgy little design. Certainly has a little bit more visual appeal than previous models in my opinion. Never been a big fan of this particular car, but at the end of the day there is a market for it, and it certainly appeals to that particular market. As I said, the looks have really improved. It's got this very edgy, funky like design, and especially at the front you can see it's really gone the whole hog, and I especially love the way that Toyota designers have incorporated that line into their headlights coming through from that top of the grille. Pretty simple looking interior, and it's very much in this current design format that Toyota have, with this sort of eyebrow over the top of the binnacle there. Really not sure what they're thinking in regards to, well, that's just a little bit out of, not what I would go for, quite frankly. But look, you know, fashion is something that everybody has their own opinions on. There's enough legroom in the back for two people. I certainly wouldn't recommend trying to squeeze three in there unless you've got three very small people, but it is good enough. And I really do like the boot space on this, having a double floor which you can hook or unhook using that little bit there. Surprisingly handy. Well, it's certainly nice enough to drive out on the road. The problem is that all the power and all the torque are very high up the range, and once it's up and running and changes gears, it drops about 2,000 RPM, and as a result you fall into this massive torque hole and you have to start climbing out of it all over again. One little detail touch that Toyota has done is to have the volume and power button on the right hand side of the screen. For a right hand drive car, it makes a lot more sense than having to reach across to the far side here. Now, it is a touch screen. As you can see, it's very well laid out. You've got apps if you connect your smartphone, which it says right there, and you've got some other stuff as well, and the usual basic controls. It's fairly easy to use, as it should be. And sound quality is pretty good for such a small car too. Ride and handling's not too bad. It's a little bit soft at the front for my particular liking, reasonably narrow tyres, but it does hang on quite well. You can certainly throw it around a few corners. There's no noticeable major understeer in one respect. No tyre squeal, which is another good thing, showing that they've got the Ecopia tyres holding on nicely. Steering is a little bit tight at times, a little bit vague and woolly on certain parts of the straightaways. But look, you know, for the kind of car that it is, and Toyota know this quite well, it sells because it's a Toyota. Although it's a lovely leather-wrapped gear knob on this thing, I'm a little bit baffled by this particular design, and I have to say more than once I've gone through and it actually hasn't gone into gear. As you can see, that's gone straight into neutral rather than into drive where you'd expect it to be. Just a normal straight-through method. Everyone else does it. Well, it's turned out to be a surprisingly enjoyable and funky little car. It's certainly not the sort of car that I would buy, but I'm not in the demographic for... Well, it's turned out to be a surprisingly fun and funky little car to drive, but it's not the kind of car that I would buy, primarily because I'm not in the demographic for this particular vehicle. Having said that, there are plenty of people out there that have and will continue to buy the Yaris, and there's certainly no reason why they shouldn't. It is a good little car to drive. It's just not for me. For Wheel Thing TV, I'm Dave Knoll.